Okay, so we're going to talk about the forward loop or the spin loop. A few things to kind of take note of is, first thing, to have it in your head. I think that's really important on most maneuvers. Before you go out to actually try it, is to always know that you've got it in head. So you can do your research online. As you can tell, you're watching our video, so you've already done a bit of research. I use a broom handle. Now the reason I use a broom handle is because it keeps my hands nice and parallel for forward loops, or I learn to shaka like so. Okay, so recommend a broom handle. Okay, so let's talk about the loop. Now, first things first, what we're trying to do, and where a lot of people go wrong with the loop, is they try and go end over end. That's what we call the killer loop. Okay, it is a spin loop. Even when you see the top guys, you know, like Marcilio, when he's bearing away and stalling, he still does a spin loop. So it's really important to make sure that you know that you're rotating round that way, okay, not end over end. Also, a good thing to note is it's a forward momentum move. It's called the forward loop. So you're not going back to then go forward. What we're doing is traveling forward, and then we're spinning, and then we keep traveling forward. Okay, so it's really important to remember it is a forward momentum move. I see so many people that jump real vertical and real high, but actually you want a jump that throws you forward. Okay, so what angle do I take off? Well, basically we want to bear away in the air, so it doesn't really matter too much as long as you do the right thing in the air. The ramp is very important. Again, we're not looking too vertical. We're not learning to do big stalled loops yet. We're just doing a spin loop. So we want something that's kind of that we can have forward momentum off. Okay, so your preparation is to have it in your head. Okay, a bit of muscle memory. So I'm going to teach you the muscle memory now. So basically our backhand goes down the boom. Now, the further you put your backhand down the boom, the further you can get the sail forward. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They don't put their hand far enough down the boom. So you can see my sail goes there, but if I put my front hand near the harness lines and my backhand a bit further, I can really get the sail forward. And that's what gives me the power to then whip me round into the loop. Okay, so my preparation, sometimes like when you do flat water spin loops, I try and encourage people to just do the backhand straight away. It's up to you. If you've got the control, you can go up and then put your backhand down the boom. Okay, but if it's another thing to think about. So just when you're learning to spin loop, I really recommend just get that backhand quite far down the boom. Now, what you got to remember is this boom is connected to the board. It goes through the mast, through the board, through the mast foot. So when we take off, we want to try and lift up with the sail. Now, if we lift up with the sail, what's going to happen is going to bring the nose up, and that's where we get our forward lift when we leave the wave. Now, a lot of people, when they go, they straight away put the boom down, and all you're doing is trying to throw the board into the water. And now that's when you get those sort of scenarios when you sheet in and the board sticks to the water and you go flying out the foot straps. We need to release that board first. So how we do that is by releasing the mast foot pressure. So as we're about to take off, our backhand goes down, and as we're taking off, we're going to then kick the board off downwind with our front leg. So my hips are going to go that way. At the same time, I'm going to bring the sail up and across my body like so. Now you can see my body, I'm nice and tall. I go tall, and when I'm ready to rotate, I'm ready to go small, and that's how we get the rotation. So backhand goes down. As I lift up, that's going to bring the nose up. At the same time, my hips, it's a bit like a volley, like you're kicking the board off downwind like so. Imagine kicking a football, bang, and you're trying to kick the board off downwind. So as you take off, you go up with the sail. Now I should be traveling through the air now with my nose downwind, and I've got maximum power in my sail. Now this is where they call, sometimes they say like a pull-up bar. You got all that power, you're trying to pull yourself up into that power, okay? At the same time, when you do that, you're gonna sheet in and extend your front arm, and that's what's gonna give you the whip round, okay? What we do with our legs is super important here. Now this is the difference of when people do a loop and they go flying out without the board because the board stays flat and their feet come out the foot straps. What I do with my back foot is super important because it will bring the board from flat to the back of the board up, and the nose will go down to pivot. So as I go, I kick the board off downwind, the sail's across. As I'm ready to sheet in, I want to make myself nice and small, so I bring the back foot up under my bum. Okay, as I do that, I'm going to look with my head because that will also start the rotation. And also looking, you can spot your landing a bit later on. So you go up, there, you kick the board off downwind, so there's those hips going the opposite way. And as you're from there, and then you're going to make yourself tall to small. So as you sheet in, you're going to go like that, the sail's going to go that way, and you're going to bring the back of the board up to the boom. And that's not the boom down to the board, that's the sails up there, and we're gonna bring the back of the board up. And that's what's gonna then bring your nose down, and that's what's gonna help us rotate. Now, the worst thing you can do is let go. Okay, you've gone this far, you've got all this power. If you just hold on, I promise you, and look behind you, you will go woof with all this power, and you go small, and you will just come round. And there's your loop. Okay, landing, now, ideally, as you land, you always want to land tail first. How we do that on the landing, as we go round, we go tall, okay, and we make ourselves small to sheet in. That will give us a spin. And as we come round, and then to slow it down again, then we just stand tall and maybe slide our backhand up so it releases the power, and that will just drop you out the sky. Okay, so all these rotational moves are making yourself into a ball. Now, if you sit on an office chair, if you're bored at home on the office, okay, and you sit on an office chair, if you just stand like a starfish and get someone to spin you, you'll go around quite slow. But then if you curl yourself up into a ball, you'll start to spin quicker. Now, in any rotational loop, like we're going to look at the push loop or the forward loop, okay, what we're going to do is make ourselves into a ball, and that's what spins us, and then to slow it down, we go tall again. Same with the push loop, we go up, make ourselves into a ball, that's what spins us, and then we go tall again. Okay, so small to tall. Okay, but for the big top tips is we're going to ask one of the best persons in the world for forwards and doubles, Mr. Browne himself. So over to Browne and let's get his top tips for spin loops and stalled forwards. Top tip for a spin loop?
I think a tip for the spin loop is to try to find a big fat ramp, something that's going to project you forward instead of straight up. That way you can try to get the momentum to land planing. And I would say don't be too overpowered, but have good board speed, like be planing fast but not too loaded on the sail. And then just jump really downwind, hands really far back, and just as you pull, just look back at the same time and tuck your back knee in, and then you kind of gonna hopefully spin quick and try to look at your landing over your shoulder as you're still looking back. Open your backhand and then bend your knees and try to land smooth, you know, on the water.
Cool, perfect. I'm pretty on it with the spin loops. What really, I'm really struggling with that I would love, and I'm sure people at home, the perfect stalled forward. Any top tips for that?
I feel like the stall forwards, they look a lot better when you find a more vertical ramp, since you don't have to go out spinning right away. If you get a vertical ramp, you not only go higher, but visually it looks nicer because you're going straight up and then you have to stall it, put your nose down and then spin. So I prefer when I see people doing it that way. So look for a steep ramp, almost while you would go for a back loop. And as you jump, don't rush the forward at all, just kind of bring your boom close to your hip.
Like a rocket air sort of.
And then just sheet in so you can get as much height as you want. And then as you feel like you got all your height, you kind of start drifting your boom forward, especially your front hand like that, but don't pull your back hand yet. And then when you feel like you're kind of under your sail and your nose is pointing down, and you want to make sure that you're already going down so you don't over rotate. You gotta, with time, calculate how much time do you have.
So never do it on the way up.
So never do it on the way up. And then when your nose is finally pointing down, you can slide your backhand back and then just pull and look back. Same technique after that. But the important thing is to make sure that before you start rotating, you give it enough time to get the maximum height and put your nose down.
Yeah.
And then you can go for it.
Nice.